Goedemorgen, Marley. Yeah, more just let a few people in now and get started.
Catch that? Am I the only one that caught that? Welcome back to Impulsive, the #1 show in the world.
Just gonna everyone.
Oh, nice.
Okay, I clearly just muted everybody. It's just a reminder, if you want to chit chat, of course you can. Absolute pleasure if you do. And then I'll unmute. Somehow I forget I've muted everybody. So we do have that interruptions. Yeah. A few seconds and we get started. Rise and shine, indeed. Okay, just let's Barney in. Okay, good day to you guys. 9:30, it's starting now. Yeah, let's just do it before we go any further. We'll recap. Sorry about a couple of late signals, but quite a lot of negative feedback on the last couple of signals have been sent out. I'll take responsible good ones, but take responsibly of the ones that are not so good. To remind on a positive note, the AUD NZD are still on board or whatever, but if you were, you won't be anymore because it did hit the TP. So we've had the Brit hit the TP, the gold hit the TP, AUD NZD hit the TP, and a few others practically close, but stopped out in the profit. And the gold won the second time around, up to 1940, didn't quite get the 950 TP, but didn't too bad, got out. So those are the positive ones. You don't normally get a whole run of bad ones, but we've had 2 or 3, unfortunately, lately. And that's not, unfortunately, because, well, we've discussed the variables often, but the dollar did a bit of a jump yesterday, if everyone's got the second. Just a second, just let these guys in. It did a jump yesterday from 101.70-ish to 102.45 in a matter of a few hours. And that pushed up our dollar Swiss franc one to the negative. We were hitting that, so that pushed the dollar up. And then, as I've been mentioning, that's I do see some jumping around with the dollar, but the overall dollar weakness going forward. At the moment, this could change in months, but at the moment, it's a bit on the back foot. And yeah, so therefore, it did, as expected, came right down. Unfortunately, it took that dollar Swiss franc trade with it. It's a pity. Again, maybe the stop was wide. I've been always telling hindsight, or you don't know. But unfortunately, the stop, I think some guys might, no, it didn't actually, I don't know. Some guys might still be in it, but I know the feedback, some guys from some rather uproarious WhatsApps to us saying that was a bad trade. and the other one was a bad trade, and this is no good, and blah, blah, blah. But I know the AUD CHF did hit the stop loss. I'm not sure about the dollar Swiss franc. Some guys I think are still in it, and that came back off again. Again, the guys who regularly attend, we're trying to get more people to attend to understand the pros and cons of trading, the practical aspects, the variables involved, and get a better idea of it. And some guys actually did have a wider stop and still in it, and now it's coming down. So just did hit the stop loss. Okay. All right. So we've had about 2 or 3 or so not such good ones. So, you know, it happens sometimes. Like, remember, one stage not so long ago, we had about a dozen or so on the trot, I think, just about good. So, yeah, it will happen. But the problem is the most of the people upset about it have the least knowledge, least amount of money they can afford to lose, overexposed, and it knocked their accounts on one of them, and now they're in a flap about it. Unfortunately, it's like everything else. You've got to have an understanding of the variables of what goes on in that market. I've got this one on the screen at the moment, the CAD CHF. Again, technically speaking, that's a sell. It's clearly, let's just scrunch it a bit. It's below all the moving averages, and they are, I don't use it for fun. I've played around with a lot of indicators over my time, and I find overall this is the most effective, but it's nowhere near 80, 85%. You get a run of 90 sometimes, but you say anyone who says, I'm getting 90% hit rate, on a period of time, it's not going to happen. I haven't come across anybody yet. So I found overall it is a better hit rate, so I'm sticking with it for those reasons. I'm open-minded to add, but I find over-cluttering doesn't help. Rather keep it simple, stupid, and people can then see the big potholes to avoid. The small ones, they're not going to see them as well, as I mentioned before. So that, in theory, is a sell. Now, something might suddenly happen to Canadian. Let's look at the economic fundamentals coming today. I think there's 2 or 3 coming out. Is it today or no? It was yesterday. Well, Wednesday. It's today. That's tomorrow. I'm thinking. Yeah, today we got the monetary policy coming out, the interest rate decision, and the press conference coming out. All right, fair enough at 5 o'clock. That could knock it haywire. The guys who don't attend the trading room, I copy and paste, which I'll do in a minute, the economic calendar as well as the DXY, so everyone's familiar with it or not. They don't know that, and we go for a trade, and it suddenly comes right, we're heroes, or the fundamental goes the opposite way, we're not. So in theory speaking, that is a sell. And we all agree in it. It's not just me picking up the top in the head for fun, we go for it. And something happens. Let's say even the fundamental doesn't happen, something we don't know about happens. Unexpected. None of us know about it. We can't be 24/7 news at instant release. In fact, we're not getting it at the instant release. The big players get it and then it's filtered out anyway, which I've mentioned before. And it shoots up. Well, I'm sorry, of course I didn't want that to happen. I mean, like I said about $10, I didn't want to get out first ball. Of course I didn't. And just bear that in mind. The motions fly is frustrating. And normally I see the guys complaining is they've got very little amount and they're overexposed and they're losing about 40% on one trade. That is just not the way it works. You've just got to remember that. And so, yeah, going back to this one, in theory, that's a sell. So we can put that forward as a sell. We put a stop. Why do you have a stop? Well, the point of having a stop is to stop the loss because it can go wrong. If I thought we were going to be right, I wouldn't even bother the stop loss. What the hell would be the point? Okay, so you can put a stop up there. It hasn't been there since 2 or 3, well, maybe a couple of weeks, something like that. Out the way, 60 pips is your risk. You do your volumes accordingly with a risk calculator. That's why I try to get more people coming here. But what they do is they come in here, they don't buy a course, they don't know anything, and then they suddenly try to join university when they haven't worked out that 4 and 4 is 8 anymore. And of course they flounder and they give up and then all a load of nonsense. I mean, you know, successful people do fail a couple of times before they achieve success, and they've got to understand that. So yeah, stick it out, interact, etc., and understand. I don't care who you are, what your experience is, you will not get it right every time. It's just a fact, and it's not always your fault the trade was right. It's unknown factors that priced into it suddenly give us those variables. Always remember there's millions, literally millions of people out there. I'm not exaggerating, there's probably in the region of over 50 million. I don't know the exact amount, but I know it's a hell of a lot of people out there with different accounts, different ideas, different emotions, different background, different understanding, different strategies, different. Thrown in the emotional fundamentals coming out, I think with all those incredible variables coming in, we don't do too bad. But occasionally it goes against us. And sometimes you're unlucky. A CPI comes out, and instead of having a big win, the lottery, it goes against you. Another time you think you know end of a guy, and it goes with you. That was a luck if it goes with you, the bad luck if it wasn't. The trade was still right. And I hope one sort of puts that in perspective. I promise you I try my best, and it stresses me when 2 or 3 go wrong. I expect one now and again, of course I do. But when 2 or 3 the last few times, maybe even 4, I don't know, have gone against, it's not nice. But at the same time, you've just got to remember the volumes and it can happen. Much nice, you get half a dozen go all together in the right. It's unlikely to get 6 without one going wrong, but occasionally it does. But it's unlikely to get 6 going wrong without one going right. And no, we don't purposely say a buy instead of a sell. These things happen. So I hope that's sort of fully understood. We do our best. Okay. Right. Now we'll go back to this trade idea. I just want to mention the fundamentals again. This morning, the CPI came out in the Australian at 1.9% and expected 1.6. So it's slightly inflationary. So again, it puts pressure, as we discussed it here. Again, the guys don't come to the course, they don't come to the room here, don't know all this stuff anyway. But what it means is likely more pressure on the Australia to actually start going back to, you know, more hawkish interest rate increases, which therefore it's theory, and it actually did happen, slight strength of the AUD. That came out at 2:30 our time this morning. The next fundamentals are coming out at 5. And like I mentioned, it's the policy report, the monetary policy report, interest rate decision, which is important. They're expecting it to be 0.25%, 0.25% increase. So that's expected. That price has been discounted. When it's released, there might be some movement, but that's what's being expected. Now, it's very unlikely it will not be 0.25. Why is that? It's because unless they're forced by economic circumstances, they'd rather stick to the expectation, because the unexpected forces the markets jumping around. It spooks the markets, in other words. I just hope you understand that very well. Yeah, it did. AUD, USD did well if you're going long. Absolutely. People have been pushing pressure to say, should we shorting it so high? No. The dollar's still fairly weak, so not. And that's come up and reinforced the holding for a long. Absolutely hard. Okay, so yeah. Remember, the unknown spooks the market, and the expectation is the expectation, which will move it. Now it's been released, but it won't have that much of a movement. However, sometimes you do get a slightly bigger movement that comes out because you have interpretations that are different. I always use it going to a film. You and your friend, girlfriend, mate, or whatever goes to the film, you come out with different opinions. You might think Rihanna or Adele, or I don't know what, Madonna is brilliant. Another guy might think, no, I'd rather listen to Mozart. It's different emotional opinions and takes on it afterwards. And that can often cause some variables in the market. And that has to be understood. So, yeah, just to put that in perspective, so we get a better understanding what's going on out there. The problem is human beings naturally focus completely on their specific wants. They're very, very focused on what they want. We can look at the bigger picture and see other wants are out there with completely different opinions. You see what I mean? Okay, you might even pray on it. You pray on it to go short. Unfortunately, another guy's praying out there to go up. Who's to say the debt is going to favor one over the other? So you get my point. So so that being as it may, this Canada's coming out later on today. So we've got to bear that in mind. That might have a positive or negative effect on the Canadian dollar if you take this trade. So you're aware of that. So when you make that decision, if you like the trade, which we're going to look at the moment, you've got to know in a few hours' time, 5 o'clock, what's that, 17 hours, 8 hours' time, is that right? Yeah, 8 hours' time, some stuff coming out is reasonably important. It could stuff your trade up completely, or you could suddenly have a lottery win where it flies off and hits your TP in a couple of minutes. Who knows? But at least you're aware you make that decision. And understand, it's not the people who send the signals, it's you, your account, your money, you're responsible. And ultimately, whether you think it's good or bad advice, it's still your decision whether you take it or not. And that's the point. And the other aspect is the perennial problem, incorrect position sizing, and trying to think you buy a 5,000 rand old banger, jalopy old car, and expect the same kind of return or results as getting a top of the range Merc. No, it's not going to happen. If you are undercapitalized, you're always going to be battling because it's not enough capital. When you say, well, I haven't got enough extra money, well, understand that. That's fair enough. The 5 grand car might get to A to B, but don't expect a fiver like a Ferrari. No, it won't. Yeah, it's nothing wrong with having not much money or smaller volumes if that's all you can afford. But the expectation to be able to compete when you're selling a 10 square meter store next door to Pick and Pay, no, you can't. That's the part that often comes frustrating. And they say, well, that guy told me. Well, if a guy told me if you pop this pill, I'll run faster than Usain Bolt, for argument, or play better tennis than Djokovic. Well, it's caveat to him, beware. I mean, buyers beware. I mean, clearly, no, use a bit of common sense to put it in perspective. Okay, so coming back to this Canadian one, do you want to all hang on till 5 on the off chance, or do you want to take a risk? If it does okay, you might want to, and it's doing okay, you can always modify and stop, protect you in case it goes against, and then you can be on board if it goes with you. We don't know until the results are released and what actually happens. It could be a damp squib. Nothing could happen. It could shoot up, shoot down, depending. We don't know. That is the point. We don't know, but at least we're aware of that. So we all we can say is we're working on the techniques at the moment. The downtrend is clearly there. It's come up to the resistance area, and it's not just one resistance, as in the 50-day. It's also resistance using the other highs there. So does anybody like the look of this one? Or do you all want to wait, or do you want someone to take it? Now you've got that sort of information to go for it. Okay. Are you in this one? What are you're long or short in it? You're all clear, fantastic. You'll wait, fantastic. At least getting response now. I'm still in this one. I'm not sure what you mean by in it, as in you've already sold it, have you? Or you bought it, or what have you done there, Gerard? You sure? Okay. Well, that's fine. So fair enough. Right. So I hope it comes right. It's popped up a little bit. Let's look a bit clearer on the shorter term chart. Let's try an hour. Go down to an hour. Yeah, it's still hovering. It's not really breaking down for confirmation. I will give you that. So that's another, even though there are no fundamentals coming out at 5 o'clock, maybe not enough confirmation. I would understand that on the 1 hour anyway. Let's look at the 4 hour. Yeah, it's trying to push up. The sellers are coming in, but it's not really getting going. Look at this 4 hour candle there. So from those areas now, you all know how to read a candle now. All it means is, never mind all the fancy names, all that candle is telling you what are the buyers and sellers doing and who's in control. Are there more buyers and sellers, or more sellers and buyers, or is it about even Steven? What is the worst when it's even Steven? You want more buyers, then you know which the momentum is. If there's more sellers, you know where the momentum is like to be. If there's equal buyers and sellers, in other words, there's indecision, like on that candle there, you can immediately tell by looking at it. Within a nanosecond, not a microsecond, a nanosecond, you can tell immediately there's nobody in control that side. It's a 50-50 guess, okay, on that specific candle. And that's what I want to understand, to simplify, unclutter it, and just look for the basis of all trading. It's really who's in control, not whether you like the product or not. I always use Jerry Springer. Jerry Springer made a fortune out of a show that most people think, what a load of old baloney. And you watch another very expensive put together, brilliant play, and nobody goes to see it. You get the idea. So it's not really whether you think it's quality or not, it's who's in charge, the buyers or the sellers. And at the moment, neither's in charge. So yeah, it might be nice that if there's no fundamentals, it started moving down, a bit of momentum, taking out 69, the round figure. Remember the round figure, that might give more comps to go for it. So I do see some downside. If you're in, hold it, but confirmation might be the name of the game. But at least I'm putting it out as to the facts you can see and what you can work on. Not to, I can't predict the future. We're going to put the fib. We can't do a fib from there. Let's talk the dailies. Let's do a weekly. I get a fib on the weekly. You can't, because you can't use that candle because it's still a work in motion. If we're looking at a short, We can use a fib on the short using from here down to here, for instance, if you're expecting to go short. Okay, it seems to be holding at 23.6% fib on the weekly. Is it any different? Won't be any different with the daily, we get an idea. So you can see more clearly on the daily that it's there. So you've got a fib there saying it's looking, and the two sellers are coming in. You've got the 50-day moving average. You've got the trend, which you clearly see on all three of those moving averages down, and you've got a bit of resistance here as well. Not that enormous amount, but this crunch you might find a bit more, maybe a bit more. Let's see. Not really, no. So we don't. Okay, so you've got a little bit of resistance there as well. So technically speaking, that's a short. Okay. All clear on that? Because I'm sorry to go on about, not you guys, I'm just sharing, well, maybe you're my therapist, actually, some of you guys. I get more concerned when I get a bad one than sometimes you do. I think counselor, my therapist, because you take the trouble. I'm going to embarrass Kay, and nobody's here at the moment. But here's a guy who comes in, he didn't know much, and within a month, he's getting some sort of idea. And all right, maybe he's a brilliant scientist, I don't know. But don't have to be a brilliant scientist. You just have to say, get rid of this something for nothing attitude, which by far the bulk, we've got enormous amount of clients, bulk, see to come in with an attitude of something for nothing, and when it goes pear-shaped, they start blaming everybody else. And that is really what was probably wrong with most of mankind. They want, but they don't want to give. You know what I'm saying? And that is the problem. I'm pretty sure you ask a doctor, did he want to go through all that bloody study? And after 4 or 5 years of university, they can fail the exams. Now what are they going to do? You know, and all that cost them time and sacrifice. But you know what I'm saying? No, let's rather do a shortcut and go to the black market and buy a doctor's a degree or something like that. This is the attitude, you know, and that as attitude, particularly I found over here, to be honest, is that short, quick way, and often, like I was mentioning about only fools and horses yesterday, only fools and horses work, always looking for a shortcut. And in the end, they're working all the time, looking for the shortcut, and it comes back in their face, sort of thing. So, you know, just be clear on that. I mean, I had to do some hard work exams to do this. Other guys want to do my job, they haven't got the exams, we'll go and get them. It's not easy, it's a pain in the backside, actually. Quite frankly, it's a bit boring a lot of the time. But yeah, it's a necessary requirement. So there we are. So CAD CHF, some are in, but anybody else want to enter in. That's the bottom line. Well, I was just thinking about that. I'm going to see Etienne's name out there. I mean, not recently, but a month or so ago, maybe a little bit longer. Etienne, remember, you called me up a couple of times, a couple of trades, and we both agreed the trading of the information at the time were correct. You were saying as well it was correct, and they backfired. And it's frustrating. Of course it is. And thanks to the empathy you gave me there, Etienne. And I empathize with you. We understand each other on that. It's frustrating. But going back, I would not have changed it. I would have still gone short or whatever it was, or long. I can't remember now. It's maybe a little bit longer, a month ago, or what it was. I still think that that time, that decision was correct, but it backfired. I can't suddenly change my mind in hindsight. Well, I can, but I wouldn't have done. That was the correct information. If this shoots up, I'll go back and say, no, that's a short, not a long. I was wrong. I won't say, oh, well, maybe we should have bought it. There's no way I'll buy that right now. Okay, well, I wouldn't jump in again if you're already in. Yeah, hear what I'm saying, Etienne, man, that chat, you know, absolutely. Yeah, it's just most of the fuss comes with people with least amount of knowledge, smallest accounts, and kicking up because they're trying to get their 5,000 rand motor car to behave like a top of the range $1 million Merc. And of course, that ain't going to happen. Okay, we can do that if you like. Otherwise, what's the point of trying to get money? The short, how far up? Let's have a look. Can we put it above there? Yes, we can. If you want a wider stop, because it does, I need 4-letter words. Sorry about this. It does piss me off when it hits the stop and it goes, you know, let's say you're going, what I'm saying, let's say you're going along and it comes off and hits the stop and drifts maybe 3-4 pips below and then shoots up and hits TP. But then again, you know, it's always in hindsight, but it seems to be okay with the stop there. If you want a wider stop, then you need to tell me. Right, I've got it 0.6977. If it's too close, you can make it wider. What does that mean? It means you've got to reduce your position size. Another guy up and says, with £1,000, what sort of volume, lot size should I go? Well, it depends. If the stop's 200 pips away, a very different lot size. If it's 50 pips away, again, it's lack of knowledge. But they don't want to buy a course to get the knowledge, but they still want to be a practicing doctor. And I'm telling you, clear from my body language, I'm deep a bit irritating, frustrating. No, 67.90, 0.6790. Everyone's going to be so polite, and in the end, the guys lit up the garden path. Not being done myself any favors. Sorry, you haven't done the person involved any favors. If you haven't got the capital, you're always going to be an uphill struggle. Right, let's just read this. You can look at that in a moment. There you can see the information. Just want to read this WhatsApp here. Give me a second. Oh, WhatsApp, sorry, chat line. Okay, it's all about probabilities. Let's redo it. Variables are plentiful at the moment. Not half, plentiful. And it changed on the news. Abso-bloody-lutely. Not even the money makers are certain. Abso-bloody-lutely. Read what Etchins says. Absolutely. 0.6983. Let's do that. No problem there at all. I'd rather a wider stop. And wait, just get this right. So I'm trying to be choosing the one. 8.3. Make it 8.4. Okay. 8.35. Round it to 8.4. Okay. I'd rather a wider stop and a smaller volume than trying to get too greedy and a tighter stop where you have a bigger position size and the thing gets stopped out and then screams down in the correct direction. Okay, there you are. The risk reward's fine, slight increase. Now from 110 or what it was, 130 odd per micro. Okay. Swiss franc. Let's see what Etchins got to say there. I should look at that. 2.2 basically declining WI. Yeah, I mentioned leaving Brent alone. It was a positive buy, but I said leave it alone for the reason I gave at the time, and it turned out it came off a bit. So actually there we didn't have a bad one. We had a winning trade the other day. So yeah. Yeah, and that's a lot to a CPI, the Aussie dollar thing. Yeah, more than technicals. Yeah, momentum's slowing because I think it's overcooked, to be honest. But there's a little bit of increase. Remember, and fundamental, like a CPI comes out with interest rates, etc., the technicals will always take the backseat of the fundamentals. If you look at a day chart and you see an enormous movement on something, that ain't technical, it's a fundamental. And yes, I've come right a couple of times. And I once made a mistake about 5 years ago of overexposing Sasol. Fundy came in and it went beautifully. I had to take a big, deep breath and step back and say, no, it wasn't anything brilliant or what I did. It was luck. The funding went my way. I was overexposed. If it'd gone the other way, I'd have burst into tears. Luck, I was lucky. Remember that. We can certainly do that. Okay. Finally, do you want to do it? And if Finally wants to do it, somebody else, I'm going to write it down. I probably won't be sending this out to the group. We've had a couple of bad ones now. I want to make sure that we've sent it. Well, we can't tell. They're all good as far as I'm concerned. It's a bad one out. But I just think because some guys not come to the trading room, etc., not as knowledgeable as they should be, will not know the Canadian stuff's coming out. So this is going to stick with the trading room on this one. I don't want to come out and complain because they didn't know the Canadian CPI is coming out. We'll get flack on that. Finally's in. Okay, well, we'll put that down. Just give me a second, guys. 0.612, 0.6912, 0.6984, 0.6789. Okay, where are we now? What's that in dollars? It's 133. What's that in dollars? 750. About 750 plus minus. At the top of my head. Right. Yeah, but to say the PPI is not as major as the CPI. Okay, but it's inflation, lack of, but it's not. It's the consumers really who count on that rather than producers, etc. That tend to follow the other, but it's there. That's why I don't see the buy stop, sell stop on the PPI. Rather stick to the American one when the non-farms or the CPI comes around before you get clever on that. Okay, and sometimes funny results come out of it. That's what I always say, if it's higher and the opposite effect, what is that? Again, it's the interpretation. Okay, we got that down. Let's see how it goes. Another one, guys, especially newer guys, when you go in, it's a natural human emotion to expect to go immediately in your direction. Not necessarily the noise. You cannot pick tops and bottoms. It might shoot up 20 pips, it might come off. You've got your strategy, almost just to hide the bloody trade and concentrate on something else. Otherwise, you might be pushing it, oh, it's going the wrong way, I'm going to jump out and go and buy it now, or panic or things like that. You shouldn't be panicking. You've written, if you've gone in with 0.02, you must say to yourself, I've written off 260 odd rand, or whatever it is in dollars, 15 US dollars, whatever it is. I've written it off, and if it comes right, that's the cherry on the top. Also, you know, you can modify, you can close when you like, etc. It's the problem is this is a highly complex derivative market with a large amount of people without even the mathematical basis trying to tackle it. You know, it's like trying to guys studying to be a doctor when they can't even pass matric in maths, which is 30% pass rate. It's going to be uphill. Just bear that in mind. One has to be honest with themselves. Are you up to it or not? Okay. Where are we? I'll tell you, I just love the subject. It's a bit like Idol. I haven't watched it for years. Just watched the wrong read, a bit of a laugh. Came out and some guys had come in there, couldn't remember their words or anything clearly. Oh, but my mum said I could sing well. I mean, then they come in on TV in front of a bunch of judges and the horrible facts come through to them. Do you think the mum is being kind by saying, oh, you're a wonderful singer? Or they go on to a popular program like that and make a bit of a fool of themselves. It'd be more kind if the mother said, sorry, you're great at this, but maybe sing, I know you love it very much, is not for you. And maybe show something of, I don't know, Barbara Streisand or Adele or somebody who's on top of it and see, do you think you can really cut it to that level rather than put themselves through it? You know what I mean? And that's to admit to yourself. Do you want to put the effort in? Do you have the understanding? Do you have the mathematical, the arithmetical background? Do you have any access to the cash, the equipment, and want to make the effort for the knowledge? If not, maybe you should try something else. You know, that's fair, other than get yourself more disappointed. Okay, right. So that's the trade. AUD USD, I think, was the other one looked at. It was mentioned just now. Someone wanted AUD USD. Let's scrunch it a bit. Let's go to the weekly. Can't see highs there. Okay, I'm going to take this off. It's completely rubbish. It's jumped through from one chart to another. Have a look at that. Not technically, Mark might know why. I don't know. But anyway, just go down to the bottom. Mess case. I'm missing anything there. US dollar, Swiss franc. I think it's still going to come off that. I'll look in a moment. Okay, yeah. It's regained the 71 mark. What's the dollar doing at the moment? It's come off the last few hours. It's popped up within the last hour. It's to change over a new candle now at 10 o'clock. And it's popped up from 101.80 to just around about the 102 mark. It seems to be hovering around that level, a fairly sideways direction between maybe 101.80 and maybe 102.40, something like that, in that sort of range. As I said, until we get some fundamental differentiation or some dovish instead of hawkish or whatever, or more hawkish from Powell. I think it's next week we have another FOMC meeting. I think it's sort of go up a bit and then drift a bit lower to like slightly sideways. My take on the dollar, as I mentioned for a while, is slightly weaker. So far, so good now. So what do you want to do with this? Do you want to buy it now? Let's say you wanted to buy it. I haven't mentioned that for the dollar. Let's have a look at a bit of resistance. That's a bit of resistance there. Okay, that's 80 pips away. Is it worth having a bash at? Well, first of all, look at that wick. Let's try to push up. Sellers are coming in. So it's not a hell of a target for the risks involved. Then next thing, where are you going to put your stop? You clearly can't put it down there. That's 160 pips away. Clearly got to go to 4 hour. We're going to put it to make 80 pips, maybe 50 pips maximum, maybe further than that. You've got maybe now you can't get a risk reward. So you've got to put it here somewhere. It's going to be too tight. So even if you wanted to go long, you can't really. It might take that 50-day out, but might is what 100 days. Sorry, That might is, I might turn into a woman in the next 5 minutes. A meteor might hit me. That's not good enough. So the bottom line is, to go along on this, the maths are against you. You can't get a risk reward. Not enough meat on the bones. It's not worth the hassle. Okay, so maybe we can look at a short. That to me is a more likely scenario. It's gone up since 8th of October. What are we now? That's just about 3.5 months. It's gone up nearly 1,000 pips. It's reaching exhaustion. Did it stop it going up another 1,000? No, it doesn't. But it's likely that some guys are going to start thinking profit taking, and some guys will think, "Sorry, it's overcooked. I'm going to sell it anyway." Whatever fundamentals come out, I don't know. It always gets some emotion there, but it's getting to the stage where it's going to probably ease off a bit. You see where I'm coming from, guys? I'm thinking aloud here. I obviously see that immediately because that's his practice, but I'm just speaking out what should be going through your brain. And again, you see a few sales are coming in. So does that lead us towards selling it? Well, I'm leading on that side. It's a round figure at 71 at the moment, but we've had a bit of a bounce in the dollar. But is that bounce going to continue? So I'm not confident enough of the confirmation at this stage to sell it. So you say to yourself, well, I've got a couple hundred grand in my account. I made 70 grand in the last couple of weeks. I've had a hell of a good run. I can afford to take a very, very aggressive stance and preempt it by going in now. If I lose one of those things, but if I do win, I'll be on board as the other guys join me on confirmation. That's the way to look at it, but that was your decision. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. Yeah, it'd be nice people. We might get some bloody rights. Actually, that'd be all right. And I can make all the sexist jokes about men and get away with it, not get locked up and say it vice versa. Hey, there's a bitter and twisted man for you. There was one, eh? But yeah. So I'm going to recommend sitting on the side, but I'm saying keep your ink dry for the moment, but have it poised, because if that dollar does sort of go up a little bit more, or something comes in, or either confirmation, whatever, there might be a bit of a pullback. I'm not sure we're in the short zone yet, or a change of trend as yet. Absolutely not. It's clearly in the buying trend, but it might get, if you can see a potential pullback of, let's say, 80, 100 pips, make it 100 pips, or even more, maybe get a risk reward. Okay. It's more 1730 rather than 1530. The time, just by the by, it's not 3:30, it's 1730 today. They call the US oil inventories. It often do make a bit of a difference either side. Clearly, the supplies storage is slightly higher than expected. That might be end up being a little bit of a weakness in oil. It's only in America, and it's all over the world. If it's less than expected, you might get a slight jump. Not just WTA, it could be crude and WTI, sorry, and crude and the Brent, generally speaking. But even I've seen quite large differences. It doesn't have a major impact, and often it lags. I've seen it come out, and it takes a while for any effect on the price. You know what I mean? I mean, non-farms come out, it's a big difference. You see an immediate, at that second, a jump in the euro dollar, NAS or whatever. Seems sometimes filtering the move a little bit later for some reason, but it makes a bit of a difference. But my overall taking on it, it's the overall supply and demand and the ability to open or decrease the taps. That's a very important part. They can increase production. It's not as if they can't increase production, even they're starting to run out of oil. When that happens, that's a different story. Then it'll continue an upwards oil because there's no way to replace, but they can. There's still reserves are huge. Okay, still there. They're a hell of a lot. I can't remember the exact figures, but there's still huge oil. They can open the tap if it gets out of hand, or close it if it gets out of hand the opposite direction. Okay. Let's see what you're saying there. I think it's a possible trade, but the dollar's pushed up. But will it continue to push up? A lot of other factors involved. But if you do, you'd have to have your stop up there, which is a good 90 odd pips away. So you've got to say you're going to break through the 200 and come right down here. Yeah, you could get it. If you think it's going to come back to the 50-day moving average, I personally rather short it than buy it. But I think in all prudency, it might be a bit hesitant to jumping in there. So I'm saying for the guys out there who have enough money, can afford it, even go in a slightly smaller position than normally would, you can afford the loss. Remember I said, you go in and let's say I can afford $500 loss. I wasted that in a meal with a chick last night who dumped me and had an awful meal. We didn't get on, and you paid the meal. Well, maybe you can afford 500 rand risk on this one, or vice versa for a woman too, guys. But you know what I mean. So yeah, I just came to woman for that sudden have a sex change there. But joking apart, yeah. If you want to go the Rambo route, yeah, I can try that. But I wouldn't if you haven't got enough money or Rambo. You could get stopped out if that continues the Aussie dollar weakness and the dollar comes off, because it's the moment, unless things change, the dollar is going to be sort of sideways to maybe slightly weaker. Yes, also I'm always doing typos, so I'm used to it. So don't worry, I'm doing a lot of typos, so I understand what you meant. So this is a highly aggressive one. If you want to short it, I'll put a fib in with pleasure. It's a weekly chart, remember? There we are. It's right in the 618 fib as well. Might help your cause. 71 seem to be holding, but for how long? So there you are. If you want to take a risky one, I can put the calculator up, but I say again, it's recorded. If you try and get after me, if it shoots up, this is a risky short. No, we didn't. We'll look in a moment. Yeah, we're still on this one. This comes up afterwards. For the record, I haven't looked at the chart for an hour or so. I'm thinking there's going to be some downside there. Okay, I think that CHM is oversold. We've said that for a while, but I'm sticking to that. Okay, they don't want to do this high risk trade. I'll put a calculator up. Okay. Normal rules. 2 people want to go for it or more. I'll definitely put it down. It's a bit high. No, don't do that. Probably around about there. How far is that? Yeah, about 90 pips should do the job. Maybe a little bit higher. I mean, put it a little bit higher. We actually put it. Make it 90 pips. Make it 72 on the dot. There we are. And then we can take down the 50, make it 69.30. There's your risk reward. Quite a wide stop there. Remember the guy asked me, newer guys here, if I got 2 grand in my account, for example, what lot size to take? How long's a piece of string? In this case, 170 on 2 grand be 1. If that was, let's say, $60 a micro, then you could take 2. It depends on the risk per micro. If you could see some of the complicated derivatives they got in America, it'd blow your mind. Gamma squeezed on the delta on options. You're trying to get through that and understand that stuff. And you can't work out per micro what your risk is. You get my point. Yeah, one daily it did. Well, it didn't go against you and everyone. That was a trade at the time I thought was a good idea. And it went against, so the dollar, Swiss franc, I think some people stopped out. 2 or 3, a couple of Google jumped up. I think Meta jumped up. I think still in Apple jumped up, and they're doing fine at one stage. That's completely uncontrollable. You know? And so a lot of guys send me a screenshot of their on their phone screenshot of their positions in the red. Look at me, this has happened. Well, I know it's happened. I set the bloody trade idea. I know it's gone again. Obviously, I have. So what's the point of doing that? Maybe a bit of a sort of therapy. I don't know. But I get the impression to think, well, I somehow did it on purpose. You know what I mean? I think a lot of it's to do with, because I know that myself when I started. I remember I was with Cortex actually years ago. It's no more now. It's went into anyway. Went into another company, a bigger one. And anyway, I had my first one, and obviously I didn't know, and I thought it was going to come right. And the first trade didn't. I couldn't understand why. So I phoned up the broker. Why did that go wrong? And he explained to me, not it'll go right. Well, the variables. At least I listened to the owner. So I said, Jimmy, okay. Yeah, this is from experience. I mean, if I say, Von Deely and a couple of your mates put a 100 grand each, and I'll manage it for you, and Von Deely gets a couple of mates the same amount, and you manage it. I think I'm not shouting my mouth off here. I think odds are that I'm likely to have more success than yourself because I've been doing it longer. But but when you first start, I might get two wrong, and you might get two right. Doesn't mean to say suddenly you're the better trader. It happens. It's like in cricket, the opening batter's out for nothing, and the number 11 tail ender goes and scores 50. Does that mean you make the batsman the bowler, and the bowler suddenly gets bats? No, it happens. Okay. You see what I mean, Von Deely? Yeah. You look back the overall track record, and those who've been doing it for a little while, you'll find that it's not that bad. It's sometimes you get around, it's not so good. Oh yeah, you're quite right. Thanks, Zeph. But unfortunately, they do. Not the guys here, to be fair, because they took the trouble. But get some serious poison pens. Made me think as you're looking at that, how these sports stars and these celebrities put up with it, because the attacks they get on the social media. I mean, I've had a little bit, nothing like they had. A guy who's just starting, again, no knowledge, I'm not the right equip, no understanding, no nothing. In fact, very little money, and pull all into one, thinking God gave him a signal that's going to make him a millionaire overnight. Slight exaggeration, it went wrong, and now whole hell's broken loose. You know what I mean? I'd say it's mostly with the people with the least to give are the ones that kick up the most. I want a one-to-one Zoom with you for an hour and a half, and I got 400 rand the account. Well, I mean, yeah, I'll do it with pleasure. My fees are 1,000 rand an hour. Hang on, yeah, exactly. Okay, so who wants to do that? Which you roughy toughies are going to do it? And the special forces, the Delta Force, the SAS are looking at the moment. They're looking to recruit, so you can put your name forward to them as well. Gold for a long. Let's write that down. We've all got a gold long out there. I think some guys might have been knocked out on it. In a profit, we modified the stop loss bit, the TP last time. Got to 1940, didn't get to 950 TP, but pull back a bit. Some guys may. We'll have another look. Okay, so we'll leave the US AUD USD. Not enough guys want to do it. Am I right? You're going to wait. Okay. One guy might, it's not enough. I won't write it down. Need two people. Okay. And Microsoft came out as well, but it's going to be sustained. Got maybe a bit more, than we set it down again. And deep scale chef. Let's look at that as well in a moment. Okay, US dollar Swiss franc. I think I'll take this one. Wendy, I don't know. I must admit, there's looking at. I'm trying to think it. Women's Special Forces in empowerment. Trying to think of that. Women's Special Forces empowerment. Wendy, you're going to take it. I'm going to put your name forward for the local SAS Special Forces. You're a tough one. Okay, there's two people, and write it down. See the Rambos come right on this one. Hope they bloody do. That'd be great. You have my permission, guys, who took it to take the mickey out of all us chickens. My full-on permission. In fact, I encourage you to. Just call it 71.05 of the entries. In between the spreads, they call that. 72 on the nail. 69.3. And what we're talking here is 167. That's what about plus minus just over $9, maybe $10. Call it $10. $10 a micro, something like that. Let's write that down just to look at it quickly. Okay, so we'll see how that goes. I've got a couple written down here. US dollar, Swiss francs. Knock this off. On the daily now, to get it clearer. Yeah, well, let's just go back and scrunch a little bit again. So all looking at that chart, everybody looking there, not just guys who know the score, everybody there who doesn't know the score can look at this chart and they should tell immediately, these are three moving averages of filter, 50, 100, and 200. Is it above or in between or below? If it's below, is it in a strong zone or a weak zone? If you think that's in a strong zone down there, I sincerely suggest you do a career change. Okay, it'll be hard, but yeah, exactly. That should be so utterly obvious, it's scary. So if you think that's in a buy zone and that's in a sell zone, I think a career change might be required. Okay, so it's clearly in the sell zone. It's a bit sideways. You can see on the longer term, that's the average smoothed out price over 200 days. Sideways, over the shorter period, 100, it's angling down. The 50, it's definitely angling down. So it's looking like, to me, a sell. No kidding, Roger. You get my point. Don't overcomplicate it. Right. There's a lot of complications down the line. Trust me, this is not. Okay. So I still agree with the sell. I'm sorry you were stopped out of it, guys. And in hindsight, maybe the stop was a bit tight. Easy to say now. Maybe it should have been wider. Maybe it was wider. You might still have, who knows. But anyway, the point is, it stopped out. Pity. Do I still see it? Look, it bounced up. Look, it came down again. It's trying to move up again because the dollar's moved up again. That's a short-term noise. But if you look at your DXY, I assume you all got it. If not, tell me, and I'll copy and paste. It takes a couple of seconds to do it. I mean, I'm not doing it every time. I want people to interact. If you haven't got it and you can't even really make the effort to say I haven't got it, well, I can't help you. You know. So if you haven't got it, say so, and then I'll put it up. Okay. Right. So do I see downside? Yes, I do. It's retracted. It popped its head above, stopped us out. I'm sorry, I still stick to the short trade. Even though it went wrong, I think the analysis is correct, and it's built back into that little comfort zone. You know, it's like a comfort zone. It put its head outside, didn't like it, it's come back again. Is it trying to move outside the comfort zone? It's having another bash, but it's scared. A few sellers are coming in. Is it going to progress upwards again? Is it worth going in again now? If you're going to be conservative and prudent, I think wait a bit more confirmation. If you're going to be a special forces Rambo, roughy, toughy trading marine, you can try again. I think, Gerard, didn't you go in again a little bit higher up? I'm not sure. And you should be recovered and you should be in a bit of profit. Yeah, so it's trying to break up again, but the dollar's now coming off. Do I think it's going to come off? I think not just a dollar Swiss franc, I think it's oversold. It's extremely stable. Okay. So I think it's oversold. So again, I do think that the downside is correct. Do you want to do it again or what? You did. Well done, Gerard. Thought you had. Do you want to do it again? Or probably if you got burnt last time, maybe just to be a bit careful and maybe a confirmation or something like that. But if it pops up, it's going to have some fundamental radical strength in suddenly the dollar, which is completely outside my scope of what happens. That's like, you know, what's the gold price going to be on the at midnight on the 30th of December 2024? Of course you don't know. Okay, so maybe a wider stop. Put it up here somewhere, 100 pips away. Take it down to here. You will get some sort of risk reward, but you might. I'd rather wider stop, and if you'd get a 1-to-1, but it only gets down here. If you made 100 pips, fair enough. But I do see the downside there. Okay, thanks for the support there, Tim. That's good enough. So again, you take my point here, Tim, agreed the short was the right trade. You know what I mean? Looking back, would you have gone long? We know now, but if you didn't know then, you certainly wouldn't be going in long. I would have been surprised. You might have gone in, but you got lucky, you didn't know. just flash across my screen and inquire on the WhatsApp. When will you guys increase the spread? Okay, guys. Anybody here want us company to increase the spreads? Anybody here want that? If you all do, wow. Thank you. Can you imagine when you guys going to increase the spread? That just come through. So, quite rightly, Mark, if you WhatsApp me yesterday, you do need patience. I knew exactly what you meant. What sort of question is that? When are you going to increase your costs? I hate buying good bargains. No, can't you put your price up a bit? Yeah, it's too cheap. You only want a 2 million for that house, then you put it up to 3 million. Extraordinary question. Don't quite get that. I don't quite answer it. You know. Well, I do because it clearly has no idea what a spread is and it's trading. You know. I bet some people trade on a margin is what it means. Yeah. And that's basics. Yeah. All right, so leave it alone. Anne-Marie, I don't know you, but I feel I do. And actually, sorry to embarrass you, but I appreciate maybe the husband together, both of you. I appreciate some of your rationality and feet in the ground. I pick it up. And that, yeah, sometimes, you know, we get sort of a little bit too gung-ho. It's nice to have somebody just steady on a bit. You might be all right. Maybe it's just an idea to just slacken off the reins a little bit on this one. What do you think? Ah, that's probably a typo then. Yeah, but it's down there, but I hear you because look at that. We've got the data. Yeah, it seems to be in that range for the moment. But at the moment, I think, quite frankly, the Swiss is a bit oversold, but the dollar is definitely on the weaker side. So bottom line is, do we wait on this? Get the impression you'd wait. I think maybe Anna-Marie might be correct. I think she's got her feet on the ground. I get the impression, sorry, I haven't met her, gives me the impression she's fairly stable-headed. So I think maybe we should calm down a bit and maybe just hang 5 on this one. You might miss out, well, there it is, but rather miss out and go in as another jump up and it'd be bitten twice then. So maybe we just stand back, okay? Are we agreed on that? So you'd like to do it then? Well, I'll put it another way. Does anybody want to buy it? Maybe we're all bloody wrong. Maybe we're wrong. I'm wrong. Anybody want to buy this? Okay, fine. I think actually if you want to do it, you know what? You know the story. You're fairly experienced. You can put your own trade. You can do the risk out there. You know what you're doing. If someone wants to buy it, tell me. Yeah, I want to mention, somebody just mentioned that. I tend to be more reluctant. Yeah, for me, it's sure, yeah. After big losses. Now, there's nothing being conservative after a couple of losses, absolutely. But what I want to say is you must still stick to your game plan on your volumes. The trouble is, if you suddenly had 3 losses on the trot, you tend to decrease the position size and you get 3 wins. You've only got half back. You've got to say, I've got 10K in my account for argument's sake. I'm willing to risk 500 or 600 or 400, make it 500 rand, okay? If you had a couple of losses, a couple of wins, don't start fiddling around that 500. You only start fiddling around if you take your 10 to 15, then you might increase it to 700 and you stick with the 700. Unfortunately, a lot of guys are, because they're a little bit scared of the 3 losses, they risk 200 and or they had 2 or 3 wins, they suddenly jump from 5 to 800. That's not the way to do it. Stick with the risk. You might be a little bit more prudent, that's completely understandable, but don't start fiddling. Say to yourself, I'm going to stick with 500 Rand risk until it gets to 15 grand. I'm going to stick with 500 risk until it goes down to 5, then swap it over to 300. Don't do 201, 700, see that all the time. And then you get you're unlucky. The one you risked 1,000 was the one you lost on. The 4 trades you won over 200 each, and you had a net loss of 200 Rand because you weren't disciplined on that mathematical volume aspect. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I'm embarrassing you, Anne-Marie. No, you strike me as quite a disciplined person. And everyone's disciplined, but they don't know what criteria. How can they do it? So I'm saying the form of discipline, not, well, you will pick that up, you're disciplined, but I mean, people are not trying to get that discipline of saying, I've got that, I'm willing to risk. And just because you had a good run and you double up, don't start crying if it goes wrong, start lashing out the single producers, you are going to get losses. It's going to happen. It's how you handle it and how you handle the equity management. That's important. That's whether you're going to stay in the game or not. You go into the casino, it's a very simple casino, or it's a game of skill here, but similar aspect. You've got 1,000 rand, you're prepared to flutter in the casino, have a bit of fun. So you bung the whole lot on number 20 on red, and it didn't come up. 2 seconds later, you finish, you have to go home. What's the point of that? Equity management. Okay, so we'll move on. If your scam's different, Tembi, it's a completely different ballgame. Don't worry about fibs or whatever. They look at a range, just trade that range. Okay, fair enough. You're going for slight jumps. Yeah, that's not a problem. Okay. Slightly, it was a bit too short to give indication. An hour later, could go up again. I've got an hour in front of the DXY, and I can, come down to the next 2 hours and pop up 1 hour. That's a bit short term. Okay, so we'll leave that one. Gold we mentioned. You double up and you double up till you run out of money. I've seen red come up 11 times on the trot on a casino game for a bit of fun. I got bored with it actually. This was literally about 7, 8 years ago. I had to download an app. I think it's 7, 8, 6, 7, I don't know, and put on red and double with fake money, to be honest, until I ran out because it came up red doubled up and the black didn't come up for about 11 shows. So that's an old one, but if you get a bad run, you're completely wiped out. Remember that they wouldn't stand business, these casinos, if something as simple as that worked. Or they would say 3 doubles up and they make the maximums, that sort of thing. Yeah, I do the daily, yeah. I'm on the daily at the moment. Okay. That's the daily I'm on at the moment. There you are, D1. And so I look at weekly, etc. I do my straight in the day, that's my choice. If you do the 4 hourly, that's your choice. You do the weekly, whatever. That's your choice. You look at the weekly, monthly, 5 minute, 1 minute, whatever turns you on to see what sort of momentum you get other areas. So look at the daily, and then we can look at the 4 hour, and you can see, yeah, there's a bit, even on the 4 hour, you can see maybe there's a bit of an obstacle here, 20 pips away. So you think I'd short it, we're aiming down here, but you're expecting a bit of an obstacle on the 10 and a bit of an obstacle there. The next 20 pips is a small one there and a reasonable one there on the 4 hour. Remember, these lines or moving averages count for all the charts. Put it on 15. This is at 200 times 15, all these times 15, and there's a slight buy zone on the short term. Well, it would be because it's gone up in the short term. You get the idea. That's just common sense when you think about it. And you get all excited with money, a lot of that common sense goes out the window, and our fear and greed takes over at the same time almost. Okay, so we'll move on from that one. Oh, God. Somebody else, do you want to buy it here? No, I don't. Simple as that. Didn't think so. I think that had to come off quite a bit to buy it. We've all got a trade out there. Some guys have pulled back and got stopped out on the profit. So that's not stopped out negative, stopped out positive. It's only slightly negative. It stops you out and you made 10 units and you go screaming up and you could have made 20. But you made 10 instead of 20. It's not a loss. It's just a smaller win. To get my points. It's a slightly different ball game. But yeah, would have been chasing it here? No. I see 1950 and 2000 the card. Let's get something fundamentally very different on the yields and on the dollar. No. So I do see 1950 probably higher down the line. When, I don't know. I can't get the time zone. I see it. So I'm still sticking with the buy the pullbacks. 1920 or more, I'm looking to buy again. You've got to trade in, so I can't say buy again. If you're already knocked out and you look at it again, that's a different story. I wouldn't be chasing these levels. Where are you going to put your stop? I like to put it at 1905 like previously. That's $25 away. So now you're going to look at least about $40 potential profit. That's 1970. It's got to get past 1940 first, then 1950, and then to up to 1970. It's not worth it. It could have a pullback before he gets there. So if you want to buy gold, strongly suggest you miss out potential and wait for a better price. Okay. If it does shoot up, I'm sorry again. I'm giving my advice as I see it, and I personally would not buy it there. I'd be buying it a pullback where that horizontal black line is. Okay, any comments? Sorry, John, maybe I misunderstood your question. I'll have a look at it again. Well, thank you. That's a good question there, because I can see some support there on the body. 1, 2, right, it's a wick, okay, break. A wick there. All right, 2 wicks, 2 bodies, a bit of support there. And it's backed up by the 10-day moving average, and that's a short-term moving average. And look how that 10-day is held. It's held, when did it last not held? The last time it's above that was back in 5th December, which is what, a month and a half ago. Otherwise, it's held above. See, held above. So that's the reason. Okay, we'll see that. Once it's pointed out here in Cozy, it's not that difficult, but if you're not sure what to look for, it's difficult. But now you can see it, hey? Not that difficult. I'll buy limit 920 if you want. Just remember, there's nothing without a yin and a yang. The only problem with a buy limit is you're not in front of a computer doing something else. It comes back to 1920, and let's say it comes back to 1922. Unbeknown to you, some fundamental came out, which, let's get the right way around. Yeah, strengthened the dollar suddenly, and it started coming down. It kicks your buy limit in 1920, but the fundamental pictures changed because some fundamental came out, which you didn't know at the time. And if you're in front of the computer at the time, you'd have seen that, and then you'd have withdrawn your buy limit because you're now expecting some downside of the fundamental. Just remember that. So, yeah, so buy limit is very useful. That's why it's there. But just remember, at the moment, buy limit, I agree. If it does come back to that direction, just look at your DXY and your yields as well, just to make sure there's not some fundamental fly up in this case that could suddenly bring the dollar down, the gold price down. Remember, the yields and the dollar go inversely proportional to gold. Just remember that. An alert might be better. Have your phone handy. I like that. Have an alert. Ask me how to put alert. I'm in front all the time. I've been shown I've forgotten because I don't use them, because I'm in front of the computer all the time. But it won't take long to find out. Go to tech support, sorry. Put alert in, alarm, have a quick check before you put the order in. That's probably more, in fact, not probably, it is more intelligent. But yeah, but if you're in front of the computer, buy limit, not a problem. Just saying, be aware if you've got a full-time job, you can't, situation might have changed by then. Just bear that in mind. That makes sense. But that's the reason for 1920. Right, why do I use the daily charts? No question. I find it covers everything. The tech stocks often be a bit quicker, but most stocks are a bit slower. And some people use weekly because it's more swing trading longer term. For the tech stocks, some people book Forex for daily and 4 hour, and the NAS 4 hour only, or whatever. I've just said, right, like a shopping mall. I have all the shops under one roof. I use the daily for the whole lot. I find the 4 hour might be a bit short term for some of the stocks. A daily might be a bit too, a weekly might, I don't know. I just find it encompasses it so far. If I find I might change my mind 6 months down the line, I don't know, but it's encompassed. But if you're using the 4 hour, it's okay. Just remember, the more the point is, what you're comfortable with, stick with it. You can always look at other time zones as well, or sorry, other candles, timing candles as well. But yeah, just look what you're comfortable with. Okay. Oh yes, and always look at the difference in volatility. You know what I mean? Forward stop is not the same volatility of the Nasdaq, so it's a completely different volatility ballgame. So you can't treat the one the same. That's the point. That's why we're trading. You can ask. I'm just new to you. I do a bit of trading, but do I do a wider stop on, let's say, the euro dollar than the NAS? And I can say, well, the NAS is far bigger mover. Yes. Does F stop an S&P share? It's not a tech share. Does it move the same rate as the Dow? No, it doesn't. Volatility is different. It's a different animal. Is your Rottweiler the same as your Chihuahua? No, it's not. There you are. Anyone likes what he's copy and pasted there? That's fine. But don't, not proud by analysis. I'm going to say, don't try and change your swing by a bit of advice as you just might have hit the ball in the competition. You know what I mean? Do it in your own time. But don't try and get too many and you chop and change and we come and go. You see something and you understand it fully and you think it adds flavor to your trading, absolutely. but try and keep it not too cluttered charts and overcomplicated. Paralysis by analysis. Okay. Okay, so back to gold again, leave it alone at this stage. AUD looks like I'm not going to get trades out at the moment. I look again, I do every single day in the morning for 8 o'clock staff meeting at potential trades, and I missed one happily, but I've looked the whole bloody lot and I couldn't find one particularly that's given me enough confidence to say, yeah, I was pretty confident the last couple. But so I've been doing this before. That didn't stop me, right? Didn't work out. I'm upset for you guys, and I'm upset for the poison pen letters I get, or WhatsApps I get. But overall, I still stick they were right, but it went wrong. The right ones went right, so there it is. Right, AUD let's go back to this one. Immediately, that looks like a short to me. Immediately, let's scrunch it a bit, zoom out. That still looks like a short to me. Let's look at the weekly. Any problems on the weekly? Right, let's get rid of this. I think it's getting in the way here. Just remember, often it comes through to other charts. Just get rid of it because it gives you false information. Where is it? Isn't the buy or sell zone? Don't ask the question. If you don't know, go and get an optometrist to see your eyes. Clearly in the sell zone, the weekly. Let's look at the daily. Sell zone, well, no, yeah. It's not the sell zone, it's the neutral there, between the 50 and 200, but it's attacked that and it's held. See how important that is? Scrunch it a little bit. See, it's slightly downtrend, slightly downtrend, slightly evened off, but there it's held. See how, that's why I use them. They're internationally used and self-fulfilling result. Right, so go back to the weekly. That's saying in the sell zone. We've also got some resistance there, which the sellers will come in to defend. We go to the 4-hour chart. Nothing getting in the way till that, and that's a minor one. This is a bigger one down here. We've got a long way to go, so there's no worries there on the 4-hour. Let's have a look at the 1 hour. A little bit of bias coming, but not much. 15 minutes, a little bit of decision, not much. Probably a bit quiet today. That could be it, something to do with that. But overall, we've had a jump in the Aussie dollar, taking it up there, suddenly running out of steam. So the big question is it going to break through above there? How far away is that? Only about 14, 15 points. Sorry, pips, big difference. Remember, 10 points, 1 pip. If it says 35 spread, that's not 35 pips. That's 3.5 pips spread. Don't forget that. Right, where was I? Okay, so it seems to be holding. So that, to me, putting that together, although it fell last time, will it fail again? Not necessarily. You failed your exam last time there, Mr. Smith. Are you going to fail again? Well, you know, maybe this time you'll pass it. Don't give up. Marketmilk.babypits.com. Where the hell do they get these names? Bloody hell. Okay, so might be Mark. Put it down. I'm not too sure about that. And that's getting pretty, being hawkish, I know that on the euro, but I'm not sure about that. I'll have a look anyway. You might be right. Let me get to an hour or two. Where was I? Yeah, okay. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So to me, do you agree or not? It's your responsibility. If you know what I'm talking about, it's clueless, you think it's rubbish, don't do it. Don't go, oh, Roger said I must do it. It's all his fault. No. If I get it right, then you can say, well done, Roger, by the way. But joking apart, that to me looks like, even if it fell last time, that still looks like the possibility of downside. My worry again, Aussie's got a bit of strength. I get that from the increase in interest rates or whatever, or CPI or potential, sorry, the CPI. But yeah, does anybody still say have another bash at it or wait for more confirmation? What do you think? I'm so over CHF. I'll be honest with you, Mark. I don't want to bias any of you, but I have to say, I take his point. It's given me some jip. It's been my go-to for the last couple of years. For the last month or slightly, or maybe 2 months, last 6 weeks anyway. It's definitely, I'm a little bit, I hear you. It's not been doing me many favors either. So I tend to hear you, quite frankly. Not much scientific in there, a lot of emotion, but like I said many times, we're emotional creatures, number one. rational too. I'm trying to hang on being rational, but I so hear you, to use modern American terminology. You're so over UHCHF. I'm so understanding what you're saying. I get you, totally get you. Yeah, it's been giving me serious jip lately. But then again, look at the last 3-4 years, it's been great. I get 6 weeks are bad, and I want to give it all up. Shows the power of the negative, eh? 10 good ones, so be it. Yeah. Get 2 bad ones, just learn all rubbish. Amazing how the power of the negative, eh? I remember this lady said the other day, "You're the best looking guy I've ever, from top to bottom, I've ever come across, but your nose is too big." I went to Great Depression. Well, hang on, my nose makes up 1% of my body. I'm just joking about the looks part, by the way, but you get my point. It's amazing how the power of the negative. But anyway, that aside, yeah, you're also over CHF. So what I suggest then, Mark, go and buy the dollar and sell the damn Swiss franc. There you are. I'm kidding. Wait, okay, we're going to leave that. Probably wait for more confirmation. We're still burning a bit for the last 2 or 3 have gone wrong. Okay, NZD-CHF is doing so well. I think some guys took the profit on it actually. Then it turned around and stopped out. AUD-CHF and USD-CHF as well. So maybe taking a bit of licking your wounds, let's say. I don't blame you. Yeah, Gerard, you're another one. I've sent an anonymous letter to the Delta Force guys to give you a ring. You're a tough guy, I can see that. Okay, risk reward. But I'm not joking here. If you want to be a professional golfer, you have to put behind what happened on the last hole. If you take it in, you bogey the last hole, you'll bogey the next one. So I have to say, easier said than done. That's what the pros do. If you want to tighten a wider stop, maybe let's get this out away from them. It's still correct there, I think. Maybe put it a bit wider, rather small, but just slightly wider. Keep it out the bloody way. How far is that? Even a little bit wide. I just want to get a stop out the bloody way. There we are. When was it last there? It was last there in 6th of September. That's about 4.5 months ago. So we'll stick with that. And we can take it down here, plenty. 63. I'll put this up there. $63. Make it 63, 65. Take the count of the spread. Might get stopped out. Might get there on the, because if you're going short, the sell might get there, but the buy might not. 65. So I said, take out the spread, so you know what I mean. There you are. Plenty of risk reward. 160 bucks to micro. Adjust your position size accordingly. There you are. Sorry, Mark, I'm still tickled at that point because I so get you. You're so over CHF. If you don't get that, you don't get that. I so get that, yeah. I like your patience comment. Enjoyed it as well. I'm careful what I said, but I knew exactly what you meant. And sometimes it does, yeah, get a bit jittery. Yeah, it might not have been completely out there. It might have taken a quick jump, comes back a few bars. You might have a point there, Etienne. That's what I say. Most people will wait. I'm not putting too much pressure on Anne-Marie. She's going to wait. Might be worth listening to her on that. Right, she had not a great week, which probably adds a little bit of, she'll say, caution. But yeah, sorry, I'm embarrassed. I think the feet on the ground there might help. This is mainly for the Rambo Oaks, who maybe want to do some slightly maybe smaller position. You can afford 450, or maybe go for 2 instead of 3 or whatever, or yeah, something like that. But yeah, I still think it might go up a bit. We've got to. Whether I just even if it goes up a bit more, I just wonder why it should go that far up. I have my doubts. And look at the weekly as well. How far is it going to go? It's even got to take out this one on the weekly. So there are quite a few obstacles to push it right up there. That dollar's got to be pretty strong against. I know we're so over the Swissy, but the Swissy, and all scientific reason, it is a frigging stable economy. By just about most standards, you know. I certainly think it is. The weekly and everything, I think it is as well. But bear in mind the risk. So anyone want to join Gerard in this one, or do you want to give it a miss? And even if you say, I'm going to do it, you don't have to go full. I mean, if you've got about grand, you have not much choice. If you've got about 4 or 5 grand, you might say, instead of going for 2, I'll go for 1 micro. Get the idea. Okay, so should we come back to that and leave it for the time being? This is not a hard sell environment. This is giving you the information which ultimately you've got to make the decision. I know people don't like doing it, but unfortunately, sales make the decision for you. I'm trying to get you to make the decision yourself. So we're going to hold back on that. Fantastic. Okay, you've got a decision, you can hold back. As long as it's some sort of decision, you've got to make it. And that's the problem with most people. They can't make decisions, so they wait for someone to make it for them, so they've got someone to blame if it goes wrong. But if it goes right, they tend to say to themselves, well done. So they have the cake and eat it. Okay, if it's too small, Wendy, fair enough. Once you get a bit of confidence, Wendy, not just Wendy, everybody, thought the Wendy should put up there. Once you've got a bit of confidence, Wendy, I mean this. Money doesn't come to me. There's no percentage of me. I'm talking about for you, your own sake. Once you feel a bit more confident, been in a few trading rooms, as long as you've got a couple of bucks, Ryan, get your count up for your sake. Don't say you go dillying by putting in too much. It means you can diversify. Like I say, why do we have a minimum 2.5 to be a VIP? Not because we're trying to squeeze money out of you, because you will not be able to cope with the signals. And there's too many guys on small accounts trying to attempt going in every signal, and they've got no free margin left, and the medium margin call. I had one guy, I went out to the store, came back, and none of my position was there. And they're all in profit. And why do you take it off me? Because he didn't understand this guy. He had no free margin. He went into all the bloody signals. This is a while back, by the way. Went to all the bloody signals. And of course, he had not enough free margin to maintain the position. They happened to work out, but his margin called. He didn't understand that. You know what I mean? Again, that's nothing to do with the market variables. That's just lack of knowledge, which is important knowledge. So if you want to diversify, you've got 3 signals. You know which one to pick. You've got to pick one. 2 out of, hopefully, over a period of time are right. So you have to pick the wrong one. If you had enough money in your account, you can take all 3, enough free margin, and the 1 the loss, the 2 and 3 make up for it. You get the idea. But to try, I don't mind that as you're building up the confidence, but really, really frustrates me if a person thinks they're going to get good returns with 1,000 rand. The guys who got 1 million and know what they're doing will get a higher return, small capital. If you put your money 1,000 in a bank and you put 100,000, who's going to get the higher return? Well, you know. If one can't see that basic common sense, it's going to be a battle. And it seems a lot of people are not expecting to buy a runabout with the same specs as a top of the range Merc. No, just bear that in mind. Everything's got its limitations. AUD CHF with that one. Anything else? USD just before closing. I'm not in a big rush. I'm rather getting points across with information, understanding of the psyche involved when we have quiet trading periods. If it's all go, then we want to hit it with the irons hot. That's different. Okay, right. Somebody wanted to sell or buy. I can't remember. Just a second. I think it was a buy on this one. Yeah. Where are you? I know it's a bit of a hawkish stance. Remember, on the DXY, I think something like 60% of the 6 currencies in the DXY, out of the 6 of them, 60% belongs to the euro. This is by far the biggest trade in the world. I think something like $1 trillion a day contract value, not amounts. Remember, this is leverage instruments, contract value exposure, in and out. You remember, you can go in and out, in and out. That's contract value per day on this one instrument alone. Divorce the bond markets and the equity markets put together. It's enormous. Okay, now I get that about the hawkish, but still really hawkish on the dollar as well. I'm loath to jump and join it at this stage again. I'm on the weekly, remember? It's got a potential to go up there, it's 200 pips, but I think it might start to run out of steam. Look at that indecision. Bit of indecision there as well. Popped up, but it couldn't maintain it. Popped up, couldn't maintain it. Is it going to hold here for a bounce? The dollar's looking fairly weak, but then what are you going to aim at? You've got some, if you want to go for a long here, maybe aim here, maybe 100 pips where you can put the stop here. No, that's not going to work. So you've got to aim up here to do it. Stop down here to make it worth your while. Can you get the math on your side? I think you're chasing a bit here. So anyone want to buy this? I'm not going to do it. Stake there. No doubts about it. I ain't going to do it. But if you want to buy it, let's say we can get a risk reward up and find one. Anybody want to buy the euro dollar? I'll see if we can get a calculated risk reward up. I put my hand up saying I ain't doing it. I ain't shorting it either. I'm leaving this alone. Anyone want to buy this? I'd be wrong. The last couple of trades have definitely been wrong. So don't say what I say is 100% far from it. At least to put my hand up and admit that. But I can do a calculation for you if you want. Anybody want to buy this? You mentioned it, Mark, or somebody? Quickly, because we're running out of time. I've got another meeting after here, so I can't hang around much past 11. So you're not sure now, laugh out loud. Here's another tip, Mark and guys. When in doubt, stay out. If you're not sure, you'll kick yourself if it goes right. You'll kick yourself a hell of a lot harder if it went wrong. There you are. Okay, we'll move on. Everyone change their mind, tell them I'll put a risk rule up with pleasure. This is a forum for you guys as well. Had JPY for long. Blah, 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 blah. Been saying that for a while, without much success. I can honestly say I don't know. Zeph, I don't know. It's in the sell zone, but I think it's overcooked. I thought it was overcooked the last couple of months, and it's not been happening. It's trying to break out the range. As it gets up, the sells are coming in. Even some guy looked at a short down there, because it broke through a little bit. Look at that, and it bounced up. I was against it. Turned out I was right on this occasion, and it jumped up 200 pips. It's come off a bit. Is it trying to move back up? I think it is. As it tries to look at that wick, guys. Remember I was on about the wicks? What are the buyers and sellers doing? You can tell immediately as it tries to push up this level here, to lose heart, to lose faith, to take profit, and the sellers come in again. How much of that sellers coming in or profit taking? I have no idea. No, maybe some institutions do. I don't know. But bottom line is the price has come off. What's the difference between that? 40 odd pips is the range. If you can afford with the cost to trade that range, might be worth doing. I still think rather buy the bottom of the range rather than sell the top of the range. But at this stage, I'm far from confirmed it's going to get the breakout as yet. Remember, for some reason, the Canadian, maybe psychological, seems to be tied pretty closely to the American, because the Canadians reacted pretty similar to we've got fundamentals out in America. I mean, it's got oil, South America, but they export. We've got a lot of resources, different economy. What's the point? But they seem to do it. You know what I mean? I give it a quick example. Remember, this game was caught in COVID gouging on masks, and the price came off. Well, so did Clicks. Well, what Clicks? It's fault. Clicks had nothing to do with it, but it was the same sector that came off with it. So maybe that's the reason. So as dollar week continues, maybe a bit of Canadian coming there as well. So I'm not convinced of the breakout to buy it yet, but I'm not that convinced I'm going to sell it either. So I'm going to leave that alone, Zeph. Okay, GBP NZD. I've asked this before, Trevor. How long have you been doing this? Bloody hell. Yeah, bloody hell. Let's have a look here. Let's have a look. By the way, before I go any further, I assume everyone knows what he's talking about. GBP NZD long in the range. I presume, does anybody not know what he's talking about there? I've just done that, Gerard, yeah. Anybody, no idea what that means? Because that's quite an important comment he made there. Don't see it. In knows, I'll explain. If you don't put no, I assume everyone does. Okay, everyone knows with me. Thank goodness for that. Okay, I have to say it looks pretty good, doesn't it? Right, let's go for the negatives first. It's not in the buy zone, it's a sell zone. Number two, the NZD, despite a lot of aspects going on around the world, not quite the CHF stability, but it's probably second in stability at the moment. It's not got the same suffering under China that Australia has. It's fairly stable and it's in the weak zone. There's a couple of negatives. Right, let's go to the positive. Absolutely, that's the bottom of the range. Now, when he says the range, it means going back as far as here. What's that? That's the 29th. What are we now on the 25th? That's about nearly 4 weeks, 25 odd days. That's what, 3.5 weeks. It's been in that range. And every time it's got back there, it's bounced. Point taken. Let's look at the week before we go to short term. Nothing much changed on that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks, like I mentioned. Let's look at the 4 hour. Popped a bit below. How far did it pop below on the 4 hour? A fair whack, 80 pips. We need to stop below that. What are the hour doing? Trying to indecision. Indecision. Let's go back to the daily. Okay, right. I'm discussing Gerard because you seem to have learned quite a bit. I want your opinion, but I'm not leaving Fani and Zeph out of this. Wouldn't you not think that it might be a better confirmation for maybe a 4 hour or maybe even an hour? A full, maybe an hour, a green candle on an hour that is the bottom, including wick, above this line here. I'll put a line there. What about that for an idea before we go jumping in too quick? I know you're a Rambo, but I'm a little bit less Rambo-ish, I'll be honest, over the last couple of trade ideas I've been sending out. So I'm going to cool my ardor somewhat, to say the least. A bit getting maybe ahead of myself, being a cocky. That's so many good ones. But anyway, point taken. And that's the trouble. They rely on you so completely. In the end, when you do go wrong, they want to throw custard pies at you. It's like when Djokovic loses, everyone jumps up and down. How can you do that? Okay, so where are we? Maybe you should wait for an hour confirmation. What do you think about that? But I take your point, darling. I think it's not a bad idea. So shall we put that together and say, if it was in the buy zone, I'd say sod the hour, let's go for it. It's just because it's in the slightly negative zone with a fairly stable currency NZD. Plus, there's a little bit of one. That damn pound's a bit of a maverick. Funny guy, that. Find a bit of strange lot of bombs. I'm one of them, or used to be, so you can probably see my point. I'm an eccentric bomb. But anyway, a funny lot, so funny currency. So maybe just wait. Now it's 11 o'clock. Let's just see if that can hold the bottom of that candle above there. There's plenty of upside potential, and then you can have your stop. Have to be fairly wide below this wick, and you can take it to go back to the top of the range, and you've got plenty of upside there. Even to there's 120 pips. You can aim there's 180. So there's no problem there for the upside potential, which has been reached about every time. I think that's a potential great trade. If you're in by the time I catch you at 4, so be it. But I'm going to put that down to potential range. Excellent. Well done, Gerard, as always. Thank you for your contribution. Brilliant. Before I leave, I just want to mention, I take responsibility for sending the signals out, but they're not all my ideas. I'd say quite a few of them are, but I get a hell of a lot of great ideas in the room. Don't leave me. Brilliant. Thank you. Asterisk beside it. Okay. I've got to shoot now, but I'll do it quickly. I've got to be quick on this because I've got another meeting coming up. And someone said I was going to give it a call. I don't have time to. GEUR GBP. Do you want to short it? Well, first of all, it's the buy zone. It's popped its head above resistance there. Okay, it's popped its head above resistance, and then it's come back to test it. To me, that's the buy, to be honest. To me, that's the buy. It's above all the moving averages, including the 10-day. What it does, it pops its head up above resistance. Here's resistance, right? It pops its head above, comes back and tests it, and bounces up. That's the technical area to buy it. For me, that's a buy. If I can get a bounce back up, I don't see a sell there. So I'm going to leave that, but we'll look it up, write it down, and look at it again and see what happened at 4. But to me, that's a potential buy. That's my opinion. So I think it's a potential buy, P, buy, and I'm going to put a sell for Tembi. Okay, join me, please, if you would, Tembi, because this is how we learn. Not just you, me as well, all of us learn how it works out at 4, get some idea. Hope it didn't go so sideways to publish all that. But this is where we learn. This is not trying to say, oh, Tembi, I beat you, like a little 4-year-old, or vice versa, like a little 4-year-old. It's where we can learn from each other. Okay, and that's the whole point I'm trying to get across. We're equal in here, we learn from each other. Except I have the power of the mute on it. It's my okay, as a host. So I've got to shoot off now. See you later this afternoon. And thanks for making me enjoy this training, because I have to be honest, I wasn't before it. I've had quite a few nasty WhatsApp over the last couple of bad trades that got out. So I was not looking forward. I thought you were going to be throwing virtual bloody custard pies at me. Thank you for your support, and hopefully we'll get back to the holiday stream. Okay, guys, you can make it to you this afternoon. And try, if you can, make a bit of profit, go invest in some inverter or something, so you don't lose the load shedding signal. Hey, cheers, Wendy. Thanks for your contribution, everybody else. My shoot. Thanks, you guys. Thank you, Tembi, as always.